Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, a situation of intense conflict persists in the Amhara region, marked by the ongoing clashes between the Ethiopian National Defense Force, ENDF, and Amhara Fano forces. We have recently received the latest reports from the Amhara region, and I will share these updates with you in this comprehensive video. According to the most recent information, the Ethiopian army, accompanied by a significant deployment of manpower and heavy weaponry, is currently encircled by Fano forces in the Marawina area. The situation involves an active conflict, with more than 2,000 ENDF troops reportedly surrounded by Fano forces, and there have been reports of hundreds of ENDF soldiers surrendering in the face of this encirclement. Furthermore, recent updates indicate that following intense fighting, the towns of Magdala, Koreb, and Debre Zeit have fallen under the control of Fano forces. Notably, approximately 10 ENDF soldiers have chosen to defect and join the Fano ranks equipped with their full armor. Subsequent to the defeat of the ENDF in these areas, Fano forces have asserted control and reportedly sustained casualties on both sides, including deaths and injuries, with several ENDF soldiers choosing to join the Fano forces. In addition to these developments, as previously mentioned in our earlier video, intense fighting continues in Wurgeza and Wuchale. This comes after Fano gained control over Mersa. Reports now suggest that the ENDF forces are engaging in shelling operations against mountainous regions suspected of housing Fano forces. Moreover, it is with great concern that we share another disturbing report. In Debre Tabor, located in southern Gondar, 3 Amhara civilians have been tragically and brutally murdered by ENDF soldiers. Their bodies were callously discarded in a refuse pile. This marks the second instance of such horrific violence against Amhara civilians in the same area, further emphasizing the gravity of the situation. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, has released a deeply concerning statement shedding light on the grave human rights violations taking place in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. The implications of this report are profound and demand thorough consideration. In its statement, the EHRC confirms that the Ethiopian Defense Force has employed drone strikes and artillery attacks, leading to a tragic loss of civilian lives in the region. Local media outlets within Ethiopia have been diligently reporting on these drone strikes and artillery attacks, underscoring the gravity of the situation. Of particular note, the EHRC, an institution established by the Ethiopian government, has validated the occurrence of drone strikes in multiple locations, including North Shoa, Minjar, Gojam, and Gondar areas within the Amhara region. Tragically, one of these drone attacks claimed the lives of numerous civilians, including a toddler, leaving an indelible scar on the affected communities. The report also highlights drone attacks in Debre Marcos and Dembeka, which resulted in the loss of many innocent lives. Additionally, in various parts of the region, the Defense Force has extensively utilized artillery against residential homes and civilian infrastructure. These grim developments have been corroborated by local media outlets, with Burkina providing comprehensive coverage. EHRC further substantiates these distressing accounts by reaching out to eyewitnesses and residents from the impacted areas of the Amhara region. In locations like North Shoa, as many as 3,000 civilians have been forcibly displaced due to the relentless shelling and drone strikes. Another distressing revelation concerns the ongoing extrajudicial executions carried out by the Ethiopian Defense Forces. These victims are unarmed civilians who have either been apprehended during house-to-house searches with allegations of supporting Fano or detained on the streets. This grim reality paints a stark picture of the dire circumstances faced by the region's inhabitants. A deeply troubling consequence of this conflict is the transformation of schools into makeshift military camps for Ethiopian government soldiers. This has led to the closure of schools and the disenfranchisement of countless students. This is compounded by a recent UN report which indicates that over 7 million children have been unable to return to school in the wake of the ongoing turmoil. Equally distressing is the issue of rape, which has emerged as a horrifying facet of the ongoing war in the region. EHRC's report reveals that since July of this year, a minimum of 200 women have been subjected to sexual assault by Ethiopian government soldiers. These figures are drawn from hospital sources, suggesting the possibility that the actual number may be considerably higher, as many victims may not seek medical assistance following such traumatic experiences. The report also emphasizes the deliberate destruction of civilian properties and crops by government forces, further exacerbating the suffering of the population. Civilian infrastructure has become a target for destruction, compounding the hardships faced by the affected communities. EHRC underscores the ongoing fighting between Fano forces and the Ethiopian Defense Forces in various districts and zones within the Amhara region. This testimony directly contradicts the government's assertion that normalcy has been restored in many parts of the Amhara region following the imposition of a 6-month-long state of emergency. The EHRC's report confirms that control over districts shifts between Fano forces and government forces, adding to the complexity and volatility of the situation. In conclusion, the statement released by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, provides a disturbing and comprehensive account of the human rights violations taking place in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. The gravity of the situation, as outlined in the report, cannot be overstated, and it demands urgent attention and action from the international community as well as responsible authorities within Ethiopia. The confirmation of drone strikes and artillery attacks resulting in civilian casualties is a deeply troubling development. It highlights the devastating impact of the ongoing conflict on innocent lives, including children, and underscores the urgent need for measures to protect civilians and end this cycle of violence. The accounts of extrajudicial executions and sexual violence against unarmed civilians further underscore the severity of the crisis. The impact of this violence on the affected communities is immeasurable, and it is crucial that perpetrators are held accountable for their actions. The transformation of schools into military camps, resulting in the denial of education to millions of children, adds another layer of tragedy to this already dire situation. Education is a fundamental human right, and its denial has long-lasting consequences for the future of these children and the region as a whole. The deliberate destruction of civilian properties and crops compounds the suffering of the population, further deepening the humanitarian crisis. This destructive approach to conflict exacerbates the hardships faced by communities in the Amhara region. The report's confirmation of ongoing fighting between Fano forces and the Ethiopian Defense Forces, as well as the fluid control of districts, raises concerns about the prospects for peace and stability in the region. The EHRC's call for a peaceful resolution to the conflict, prioritizing the protection of civilians and their infrastructure, is a plea for humanity, one that the international community must heed. The absence of a response from Ethiopian government authorities to this statement is a matter of great concern. It is imperative that they take immediate steps to address the human rights violations and work towards a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The EHRC's report underscores the urgent need for international intervention, humanitarian assistance, and diplomatic efforts to bring an end to the suffering in the Amhara region. It is a call to action for the world to stand up against human rights abuses, to protect the innocent, and to strive for a future of peace and stability in Ethiopia. The eyes of the world are now on this crisis, and the international community must respond decisively to address these grave human rights violations and work toward a just and lasting solution for the people of the Amhara region.